Good evening, everyone, and thank you for participating in Tarion's 2020 annual public meeting. My name is Gina Argytas. I am the Vice President and Chief Administration Officer of Tarion, and I will be your moderator this evening. Each year, we hold our annual public meeting to provide highlights from the past year at Tarion. Our organization is undergoing a great deal of change, and tonight you'll hear about steps we are taking to modernize and improve our processes in order to better serve the needs of homeowners and builders, and to conduct our business in a more responsive and transparent manner. We had intended to hold this year's annual public meeting as both an in-person meeting and a webcast. However, due to physical distancing directives in response to COVID-19, we are holding our meeting online and will introduce the in-person format next year. We are pleased that this online meeting makes it possible for people from across the province to participate. To begin, I would like to give you an overview of tonight's agenda. We will start with remarks from Tarion's board chair, Harry Pandey. This will be followed by a presentation from our President and Chief Executive Officer, Peter Balasubramanian. Both of these presentations were pre-recorded to avoid any technical issues. The majority of the time this evening will be devoted to our live question and answer period, which will follow Peter's comments. For this portion of the meeting, Peter will be joined by Harry Pandey, Sophie Vlahakis, Vice President, Warranty Services, Kevin Brody, Vice President, Underwriting, and Tim Schumacher, Vice President and General Counsel. So that everyone who is participating in tonight's meeting can benefit, we ask that your questions for the panel be of a general nature, rather than specific to a particular home. You can submit questions using the Q&A button that you'll see at the bottom of your screen. When you click on it, you'll be able to type in your question and then hit enter to submit it. You are welcome to submit your questions at any point during the meeting. And when we get to the Q&A portion of the program, the questions the panel members will be answering live will appear on the screen for everyone to see. Please note that your name will appear with your question. We ask that all questions are respectful in their language and keep in mind the objective of information sharing for the benefit of the larger group. I'll go over the instructions again before we launch into the Q&A. I will now start things off by introducing a video of our board chair, Harry Pandey.
Thank you, Gina. I would like to thank all of you who have taken time to join us this evening. I will focus my remarks on the transitional changes that Tarion began in 2019 and is continuing throughout 2020. In 2019, the organization underwent a leadership renewal in which I was appointed as board chair and Peter Balasubramanian assumed the role of president and CEO. Together, we are working with the newly composed board, senior management, and staff to help realize the vision of the Ontario government to overhaul Ontario's new home warranty and protection program and strengthen consumer protections. In addition to the changes underway in 2019, the Auditor General of Ontario's recommendations added to the roadmap for that journey when she and her team undertook a thorough audit of our organization and provided us with a series of recommendations that have since become the framework of many systemic changes and our ongoing evolution. The board of directors responded to her report with a sense of urgency and a fresh view. And together with staff, we have moved quickly to begin implementation of the recommendations. I want to address one aspect of the Auditor General's report straight away. The Auditor General was critical of the governance structure at Tarion and also found that the building industry had more influence than other stakeholders on the development and execution of policy related to new home construction. This was a significant finding and one which we took very seriously. Working with the Ministry of Government and Consumer Services in response to orders issued by the Minister of Government and Consumer Services on November 27th, 2019, we have made critical changes to our corporate governance structure to address this. First, we have amended our corporate bylaws to codify the requirement of the minister that no stakeholder should have any advantage over any other. We have changed our board composition where 1/3 of the board is appointed by the government, 1/3 is appointed as members at large, and 1/3 may come to the board with experience from the regulated sector. This means that non-builders will always be the majority of the board. The board itself has undergone significant change. I'm now the non-builder chair of the board, and the board itself has been reduced in size from 16 to 12 members. Of the 16 members on the board in 2018, only 4 have carried on to ensure continuity. We have added 8 new members to help us provide a refreshed strategic vision, and they possess a number of skills that were seen as required for our future direction. As we work to implement the roadmap to improve the Ontario new home warranty and protection program. Our new board members bring us new and desired skills in the areas of customer service, dispute resolution, information technology, and cybersecurity. Their biographies are posted on our website. In addition to these changes, we have also responded to another of the Auditor General's key recommendations by modifying Tarion's 2020 key performance indicators to completely remove any perception of profit generation as a motive for management's action, while maintaining the discipline of financial sustainability. In keeping with our commitment for improved transparency, Tarion's new updated compensation framework can be found on our website. This information is now posted on an annual basis in fulfillment of the minister's order issued on September 20th, 2019. We have also implemented a policy to ensure that no builder association, Ontario Home Builders Association or other, can receive sponsorship money from Tarion. Our goal is to transform Tarion into a modern, transparent organization using a business model that reflects the feedback of 2019. A major digitalization project is now underway that involves implementing a customized customer relationship management system. This technology will make it easier for our staff to access homeowner data, thereby improving our customer service response time. Our work on improving Tarion's digital systems aligns with the Government of Ontario's vision of leveraging technology in business to make service delivery more efficient and effective. We're also supporting the Home Construction Regulatory Authority, or the HCRA, as it prepares for potential designation as the new regulator of the new home builders and vendors under the new Home Construction Licensing Act of 2017. This is an important element of the overhaul of the provincial warranty and protection program. The future model would position the HCRA as a separate and independent regulatory authority that will focus on builder licensing and the builder directory, among other things. Tarion will focus on consumer protection elements of administering the builder's new home warranties and protections. The establishment of a separate regulator for new home builders and vendors will reinforce the governance work we have already begun and will remove any perception of conflict of interest on Tarion's part and enhance consumer confidence in Tarion's objectivity when homeowners or consumers engage with Tarion. Our vision is not just to follow the roadmap set out by the Auditor General, but also to exceed expectations and build new warranty and protection program that earns the confidence of homeowners across Ontario. As the new chair of the board, I look forward to working with the Minister of Government and Consumer Services, the new board, our senior management team, and all our stakeholders as together we do our part to successfully implement the government's vision for the overhaul of the Ontario New Home Warranty and Protection Program. There are many other subjects I could now touch on. Notably, how the COVID-19 outbreak has impacted our organization and our stakeholders, and the response we have made to those challenges. But I know Peter will be touching on those and other matters in his remarks. Thank you for participating in this virtual annual public meeting. I will be available during the question and answer period should you have any questions for me. And now I will hand things over to Peter.
Thank you, Harry. As we mentioned at the outset, our original plan for this presentation was to have an in-person session. Unfortunately, we were not able to do that because of the COVID-19 outbreak, but I do look forward to having in-person annual meetings in the future when health situation allows for it. COVID-19 has affected everything in our lives, and I do want to begin my remarks with a heartfelt wish for the health and well-being of all of you participating in this session and your families as well. In this presentation, I will be reviewing COVID-19 impacts on Tarion operations in 2019. I'll review some of Tarion's 2019 operational metrics. I'll also talk about the status of our work on the 2019 Auditor General's recommendations with respect to their review of the organization. And I'll also speak about the transformation of the organization and the potential designation of a new regulator for new home builders and vendors and our role in supporting that transition. Then we'll move on to a question and answer period. First, let me begin with a discussion of the COVID-19 impact on our operations in 2019. Our employees have been working remotely since the start of the outbreak. That transition from in-house work to remote working is something that many organizations had to go through, and Tarion was no exception. In adherence to public health directives regarding physical distancing, we also suspended all in-person conciliations and inspections in March. Now, we understand how frustrating it has been for homeowners and builders alike in dealing with restrictions and delays arising from COVID-19. Over the past several months, our staff have continued to work hard to provide advice and assistance using phone, email, and other virtual tools such as virtual inspections to help resolve outstanding issues. COVID-19 has necessitated all of us getting used to doing things differently. Let me speak about the use of virtual inspections for a moment, as that's one way that we have tried to address the inability to conduct in-person inspections during this time. A homeowner can download a free application on their mobile phone, which allows them to provide a live video feed that's viewable by both a Tarion representative and the builder representative. The application allows for input from everyone in real time, and it gives us also the ability to take photos and measurements. It's been a useful tool to try and resolve files during a moment when we can't in-person visit the house. While the virtual inspection itself can't necessarily replace all on-site inspections, it's viable and convenient, and it's something that we expect to be using in the future, even when the pandemic situation is over. As I mentioned, timelines have also been impacted by COVID-19, and we are planning on bringing in-person inspections back online in a phased way starting this month. We will be carefully monitoring the health situation, and inspections will be implemented with appropriate safety precautions, including the use of personal protective equipment and pre-screening questionnaires. We are also reinstating repair periods, subject, of course, to ongoing health developments. We sent out notices in early July, on July 6th, to homeowners and builders that repair periods would be reinstated effective August 27th, and warranty submission timelines would be reinstated effective September 11th, which coincides with the current expiry of the emergency order that impacts timelines. We will continue to provide additional information on our website and via email, social media, and other channels regarding the reinstatement of timelines and inspections. We do acknowledge that there will be delays as we work through inspections and timing backlogs that have been created between March and today. We're committed to addressing the backlog of conciliations and inspections that have resulted from the COVID-19 outbreak as quickly as possible, and to keeping homeowners and builders advised on new health and safety protocols. If you have any questions about how the COVID-19 outbreak may have affected your file or a claim that you have, or your home specifically, I encourage you to contact us through our dedicated email at covid19@tarion.com. Let me now speak a little bit about 2019 operational metrics. Each year, Tarion reports on a number of key statistics that provide insights into the work of our organization, as well as into the state of the new home construction industry. Each home enrolled in the Ontario New Home Warranty Protection Program is covered for up to $300,000 potential liability for 7 years. At any point in time, we may have between 300,000 and 400,000 homes in Ontario within the 7-year warranty coverage, and many thousands more under construction which may be eligible for deposit protection or financial loss protection. Tarion's role in the program is both to administer it, manage and maintain the guarantee fund, and serve as a surety. And that word means that we stand behind the builder's warranty and promise to the homeowner. The focus of our operations is aimed at ensuring that builders address warranty issues in a timely way, and that if they cannot or will not address those warranty issues, we can step in and resolve the situation directly with the homeowner. In 2019, there were 65,000 new homes enrolled with the warranty program. And of those, almost half of them were freehold houses and half of them were condominium units. We receive on average 50,000 forms a year from homes and homeowners who identify lists of defects that they want to have reviewed for warranty consistency with their builder. Builders do address the majority of these issues, and a significant amount of our resources is aimed at working with homeowners and builders after these lists are submitted to ensure that the builders step up and address the issues that have been raised. Over 90% of the homeowners who filed forms with Tarion in 2019 were able to have their issues resolved directly by their builder without having to have Tarion do an in-person inspection. In about 1,800 cases, the matters were not resolved, and Tarion did conduct an in-person inspection in 2019. As a consequence of those inspections, Tarion paid out to Ontario homebuyers about $18.6 million in compensation. Now let me provide an update on the Auditor General of Ontario's 2019 report. As many of you watching may be aware, in 2019, the Auditor General of Ontario undertook a comprehensive review of Tarion. In her report published in October, the Auditor General made a number of criticisms, including that our policies over time appeared to have favored builders over homeowners, and that the customer service standard rules were too rigid, and that there were gaps in staff training and operational quality control in the organization. We worked closely with the audit team and we accepted all of the recommendations and have embarked immediately on addressing many of them. We did take the criticisms made by the Auditor General seriously, and we are committed to addressing them. The report itself provides a clear roadmap and blueprint for the modernization and reform of the Ontario Warranty Program. And we look forward to working with the audit team going forward to ensure that those recommendations are fully resolved. Over the last 8 months, we have already implemented 11 of the 25 recommendations that were directed to Tarion, with 8 more expected to be completed by year end, and the remaining 6 recommendations to be dealt with in 2021. The following are some steps that we've already taken to address issues raised in the audit. We've strengthened corporate governance by protecting the new home ombudsperson's independence and revising our corporate bylaws to ensure that the majority of our board is made up of non-builders. We've improved customer service by ensuring that our service targets are met and developing clear customer service standards which enhance quality that we deliver, and we've also increased our compliance and internal audit measures. We've enhanced consumer protection by eliminating the backlog of investigations into illegal building that was identified in the report. And we've established a new process to complete investigations in a timely manner. We've also increased the training of staff regarding Ontario building code issues. We've increased homeowner access to timely and cost-effective ways to appeal Tarion decisions, including piloting an independent third-party mediation program, which has been very successful in bringing files to resolution. We've created greater transparency by publicly reporting on outstanding issues raised by the new home ombudsperson, and we've added past convictions and information about exceptions to displaying the dollars and claims paid to the Ontario Builder Directory. We've also added stronger oversight of builders by ensuring their past performance is considered when examining licensing decisions and requiring better evidence of their financial means to complete projects and investigate all reasons leading to a cancellation of a project where that happens. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 outbreak, the implementation of some of the Auditor General recommendations has been impacted by the health and safety directives. But despite these challenges, we're moving forward with a broad public consultation to seek input on how best to implement some other of the recommendations in the Auditor General's report. And we've published those consultation materials on our website and have invited all of our stakeholders to participate in the review and discussion and provide feedback. We've also posted our implementation plan with respect to the Auditor General's recommendations on our website as well to provide public accountability in terms of our plan to address those recommendations. And we'll be updating that plan on a regular basis to track our progress. Let me now speak about some issues in terms of looking ahead. By year end, we're hoping to have completed 19 of the 25 recommendations that were directed to Tarion. These will include establishing a timely and cost-effective mediation process, building on the pilot that we've already started and making it permanent, working on a targeted pre-possession inspection program that will allow us to better monitor and better add value to improving construction quality of homes, helping homeowners understand the importance of pre-delivery inspections and providing that information on a more timely basis in their warranty protection journey, and also providing additional disclosure on the Ontario Builder Directory to benefit consumers, because we'll try to ensure that they have access to better information to help them make more informed purchasing decisions, requiring disclosure about high-risk condominium construction projects. We think this will encourage better building practice. We will also be looking for feedback, as I mentioned a moment ago, with respect to the public consultation on a number of other recommendations and additional consumer protection initiatives. These include looking at compensation caps on claims related to environmentally hazardous substances, which would include mold and radon, piloting a new approach to handling mold complaints so that there's a clear requirement to contain and mitigate anything that raises health and safety concerns right away in advance of dealing with fault or the underlying cause, expanding the definition of emergency claim to include any water penetration issues, increasing warranty compensation caps for common element claims in condominiums, and providing compensation to homeowners in instances where they have to relocate because repairs are going on, or they have to leave their house in order to effect repairs on items that are warranted defects. Those are all areas where we're going to be seeking consultation and hopefully moving those initiatives forward this year. Finally, let me speak about the broader transformation and the creation of a regulatory authority to be designated under the new Home Construction Licensing Act of 2017. In addition to addressing the Auditor General's recommendations, as our board chair noted in his remarks, and as I've spoken to at length, we've also supported the Home Construction Regulatory Authority as it prepares for potential designation as a new regulator of new home builders and vendors under the new Home Construction Licensing Act. If it is designated, the HCRA would be responsible for builder licensing and compliance. It would take over development of a code of conduct and disclosure on the Ontario Builder Directory with respect to builder performance and builder records. The separation of roles that would come out of the creation of the HCRA will create two entities with clear mandates and accountabilities, free of inherent conflicts of interest. Until such time as the new regulator is designated, however, Tarion will continue with its current mandate as both regulator and warranty administrator. In closing, let me say that despite the challenges presented by the COVID-19 outbreak, Tarion is fulfilling its commitment to change. As the new president and CEO of Tarion, I'm confident that the changes that we've made and that we're currently implementing will create a stronger new home warranty and protection program for all Ontarios. I think this is an optimistic time to be part of this space. This is the culmination of 5 years of review and provides us with a real opportunity and a blueprint set out by the AG recommendations to show how we can move this organization forward to be a better warranty protection program for the province. I look forward to leading our organization in this endeavor and as we take on the future challenges. Thank you.
So that's a general overview of Tarion's activities in 2019 and into 2020. As Peter noted, our implementation plan for the Auditor General's recommendations can be found on tarion.com. You can also find more information in our 2019 annual report on our website. If you're interested in learning about the activities of the New Home Ombudsperson's Office, you can visit the Ombudsperson Office website at newhomeombuds.ca and read their annual report. Now, as promised, we will move on to our question and answer period. To remind you, the panelists are Peter Balasubramanian, President and CEO, Harry Pandey, Board Chair, Sophie Vlahakis, Vice President, Warranty Services, Kevin Brody, Vice President, Underwriting, and Tim Schumacher, Vice President and General Counsel. If you have a question, please click on the Q&A icon at the bottom of your monitor and type it in. When the panel is answering a question, it will appear on the screen. Depending on the volume of questions, we may not have time to get through all of them this evening, but we will do our best. We intend to answer questions as they come in, but it may be that a question will need to be reworded or rephrased if it contains specific facts, or we may not be able to answer the question tonight. If your question does not get addressed, we will follow up to ensure it gets addressed. For questions that are very specific to a particular home or issue, we'll have our warranty services team contact you. Answers to more general questions will be posted on our website in the annual public meeting section under the About tab. We will post those answers as quickly as possible after today's APM. Finally, I should point out that tonight's webcast is being recorded and will be posted to Tarion's YouTube channel within the next 7 days. With all of that in mind, let me begin with the first question. So this is a question I will ask Tim to answer. There are some specifics in this question about a builder delaying a closing by 352 days, delaying the closing 9 separate occasions, and on some of those occasions giving less than 10 days notice of the change in the closing date. I don't know if you can comment on those specifics, Tim, but perhaps you can give us some general relevant information about the delayed closing warranty coverage.
You're right. It would not be possible to comment on the specifics. And right off the top, it depends on whether or not you're talking about a freehold situation or a condominium situation. As in a condominium situation, it's not unusual for transactions to last many years. For example, in a freehold situation, they do mention the word closing, I think. Typically, the addendum would allow for the setting of the first closing date, which could be any period of time that the two parties agree upon. And then the builder has 2 as of right periods of 120 days each to extend the closing. So it's not really clear to me how it got to an extension of 350 something days. But I would say that that may or may not be something that should have been done. But it may also have been something that was appropriate. For example, if during that period there was a permissible unavoidable delay, which would have allowed for permitted extensions for strikes, for example. We know there has been strikes over the last little while. I don't think the pandemic would have affected this particular situation. And it also depends on what kinds of mutual agreements were signed by the parties, which may also have extended the closing dates. So again, I'm sorry, I can't give a specific answer on it. I do encourage this person to contact our office, and maybe we can help them out more specifically on the question through our group in warranty services.
Thank you, Tim. The next question I will ask Peter to answer. The Auditor General said that senior executives would earn a salary bonus if homeowner payouts were minimized. When you were Senior Vice President, did you have knowledge of this plan? And if so, did you as a senior executive benefit from it yourself?
Thanks, Gina. I think the first thing that I have to clarify right off the bat is that Tarion has never had a compensation scheme where people receive bonuses for denying claims. That's not what the finding was of the Auditor General when they reviewed our financial compensation setup. So what Tarion did have is we had a balanced scorecard process for compensation. And that means that we looked at financial measures and non-financial measures. There were actually 11 of them. 5 of them were financial, 6 were non-financial. And what the Auditor General found, and this is at page 49 of her report, was that when you have financial measures, even though that may be common both for profit and not-profit organizations, when you have any kind of financial measure, it can have the unintended consequence of leading to an incentive. And the word unintended is important because the Auditor General didn't find that there was an intentional KPI. And that's how I think it's been really misconstrued in the media. We do accept that that was an unintended consequence, which is a perception issue, and we moved right away to address it. So we have changed the compensation structure. The KPIs are transparent, they're on the website, and they're primarily focused on achieving our mandate as a consumer protection organization and as a builder regulator. They are tied to achieving the recommendations and implementing the recommendations of the Auditor General report, as well as supporting the transformation and creation of a new regulatory body. And also they're tied to consumer interactions. They're tied to the surveys that we administer annually that are independently done, where we ask homeowners what they think of the service that we provided in the year. So to me, I think it's important to clarify that the way that report is being interpreted by some in the media, the idea that there was direct compensation for denying claims isn't right. But there was an unintended consequence and there was a perception issue, and we've agreed with that and we've made changes.
All right, thank you, Peter. The next question I will ask Sophie to address. Is there a specific list of items approved for warranty? If yes, where do we find them? If no, why not?
The easiest place to look to see what would be covered under the warranty would be the homeowner information package, which would give general information about what is covered under the warranty. And if you're looking for something more specific, we have our construction performance guidelines, which are on our website. We have an interactive application on our website called the Home Explorer, where you can click on each room in your home, in the diagram, and it would link you directly to the construction performance guidelines that are relevant for each room or to each item in a room, windows, for example, or floors, countertops, and it would list that for you. If you would like more specific answers or specific examples, please feel free to contact us. We can refer you to our technical desk, who can maybe provide you some more information and answer a specific question that you may have.
Okay, the next one I will ask you as well, Sophie. I have a few items outstanding on my original 30-day warranty. When speaking with building management, I was told that these items have been placed on hold due to COVID. Can you please confirm that these issues will be addressed by Tarion?
I'm assuming that this is a condominium corporation and this is a unit warranty. and a unit form. So I'm making those assumptions. Because of COVID, our timelines were put on hold as of March 16th. The timelines are being reinstated as of August 27th. So if your builder was in the middle of the 120-day builder repair period, it will pick up where it left off on March 16th. So for example, if they were in day 110 of their builder repair period, it will pick up on the 27th of August on day 111. They should be addressing the issues on your 30-day warranty form. We are in the process of providing individual adjustment of timelines to every person who has submitted a form. It just will take us some time to send every individual their adjusted timelines. So you should be receiving that. If you want to speak about your individual timelines and find out how much time is left on the warranty before you can request a conciliation, please feel free to contact us and speak to someone in our customer center.
Okay, thank you. The next question I will ask Peter to comment on. The auditor's report said at page 7 that between 2014 to 2018, 65% of warranted defects were not fixed by either Tarion or builders. Did you know about this, Mr. CEO and/or Mr. Chair? What are you doing to compensate these homeowners? You're on mute, Peter.
Caught that, sorry about that. I don't think that's a accurate reflection of what's in the Auditor General's report. What the Auditor General found was that in that period of time, when Tarion did its inspections, 65% of the time when we went into a home, we found items that the builder should have fixed but didn't. In other words, 65% of the time, we found that the homeowner was right and there was an issue. And so we would have either required the builder to repair those items in the repair period. And if the builder didn't repair those items, we would have worked to resolve the matter directly with the homeowner. So I expect that all of those homeowners did in fact either get resolution with their builder or were part of the claims payouts and the support that Tarion would have provided them directly during that period. So I think that's just that's another example where the Auditor General's report is lengthy. So, it's not a surprise to me that some elements of it may be misread or misinterpreted, but I certainly think that 65% number really reflects findings where Tarion had an opportunity to help and did.
Thank you. The next question I will ask Sophie to answer. I submitted the 30-day form just today. I wasn't aware the submission should be made within 30 days. I thought we were given a year. So does that mean the warranty for defects in the unit will not be taken care of?
Well, it depends on when your warranty start date was, which would start on your date of possession. So if your warranty start date was before March 16th and 30 days had passed, then you may be a bit late, but you may still be in time for your year-end form. As there was a pause on timelines after March 16th, and the pause is still in place up until September 11th. So if your 30-day form was due after March 16th in normal timelines, you would still be in time. So it's a little bit difficult to answer without knowing when your date of possession was. So I would again encourage you to contact our call center. And we will be able to look at your specific file and tell you exactly what your timelines are. And if you're, late for your 30-day, there may be a circumstance where we could accept it late depending on the situation, or you can file your year end if you're close to your year end. So we can look at your specific file.
All right, the next question I will ask Peter to address. MPP Bailey, Parliamentary Assistant to the Minister of Consumer Services, said in the legislature on March 5th, 2020, that there are 4 consumer advocates on the Tarion board. Who are they and what is their consumer advocacy experience? This is not listed on your website biographies.
Thanks, Gina. This may be something I know Harry may have a perspective on corporate governance and Tim as well. What I will say is that we have a board that's not based on individual consumer advocates. I think from a corporate governance perspective, everyone who sits on the Tarion board is expected to deliberate and provide their policy advice from the perspective of what is the mandate of the organization itself. And that is a standard requirement of all board members from a corporate governance perspective. And Tarion is a consumer protection organization. It has a consumer protection mandate. And when deliberating and when reviewing and considering policies, the expectation is that all members of the board will bear that in mind. There have been a number of corporate governance changes. We spoke about them off the top in terms of specific changes to ensure that board members who have a for-profit builder background are not the majority. In fact, today with 12 board members, the clear majority is made up of non-builders. So I do think that the idea of identifying people as consumer advocates specifically as a role is not part of the board composition. So, I think that's the answer to that question, that the board members are expected to review it from a corporate governance perspective with respect to the mandate. But Harry, I see you've taken your camera off mute. If I'm happy to hear your perspective as our chair.
Sure, Peter, thank you very much. And it's a reasonable question to ask, given the past sort of discussions that have gone on in prior years. When this issue came up, and I think I know where this question is coming from, we identified certainly two very clear-cut names, and there were two others who have that sort of experience, what we would be calling consumer advocacy. But when we nominate directors, their experience is seen in a very holistic way. When we nominate, when we interview them, when we evaluate them, we compare them to our skill matrix as in terms of what we need going forward. And where I would see a number of names, we do have actually a majority of our board members have a background in what I would call the public interest issues, as well as they come from regulated industries. And many of them have actually dealt with consumers directly in their business lives. So from that angle, there's a very strong constituency within the board today. And I must admit, it's a board that is truly an outstanding group of directors that I can speak about, where we have a very strong support for our homeowners and how we need to deal with their servicing and their experience with Tarion on a going forward basis. So I can assure from that angle, we cannot label people, as you quite rightly pointed out. We cannot label people whether they are consumer advocacy or builder advocacy. We don't want that really on the organizational level at the top of the heap, at top of the pyramid, so to speak, of the organization. But what is important to understand is, are these directors there with the experience of public interest, as well as do they understand what a regulated sector means, what the mandates call for? And finally, I would say that all the mandates we have, which are posted actually on the website, the Corporate Governance and Nominations Committee that we have, its mandates very clearly highlight up in the introduction as well as in the details as to how we have to continue to pay attention to the homeowners' needs and the regulated sector at the same time.
Thanks, Harry.
Thank you. I have a question next about square footage that I will ask Tim to address. I believe that I have a discrepancy within my unit. Specifically, the square footage of my unit does not coincide or match my purchasing documents and blueprints. Is there any way for Tarion to confirm the square footage of my unit? If yes, how do I go about this? Is there a way for me to access the building blueprints from which my unit or the building was created? How can I go about resolving this should this discrepancy be legitimate?
When it comes to area of your unit, and I take it that this is condominium unit, that is something that, first of all, I'll say up front, there is no warranty within the Ontario New Home Warranty Plan Act that guarantees the area of your unit. That kind of assurance is something that would have to be bargained for in your agreement of purchase and sale. And I don't know whether or not something like that was actually negotiated at the time that this transaction was entered into. In terms of measuring the unit, that is something that can be done by architects. It is something that you may be able to pick up from the blueprints that would be available perhaps at the building office of your local municipality. And if you have not received the area that you expected to receive, then you're back to the question of whether or not your agreement of purchase and sale provides you a remedy if the unit is smaller than you expected.
Thank you, Tim. My next question, I will ask Sophie to respond. We moved into our home June 2019. We did our 30-day PDI and there are still deficiencies. The builder was in our home 3 weeks ago and promised the repairs would be completed the following week, but this has not happened. We're wondering what can be done to address these deficiencies.
Well, I would, unfortunately right now timelines are at a standstill and they start back up, like I said earlier, on August 27th. If your builder is not showing up to do repairs or is putting off repairs and you're having issues, please contact us. We can get involved earlier. We can call the builder on your behalf. We can look at the timelines on your particular file. Your year-end claim also would have been due in June of 2020, which has now been extended to September 11th. So you can certainly file the year-end form if there are outstanding issues from your 30-day. But I would urge you to contact us and perhaps we can speak to your builder on your behalf.
Thank you. The next one is for you as well, Sophie. I have purchased property in downtown Toronto, Oakville, and Niagara, all with Tarion warranties, and I have the following questions. Why is the Tarion warranty mandatory? Why do I have to pay for inspection if the builder has not complied with 30-day and 365-day inspections?
Well, it's mandatory because there's an act, the Ontario New Home Warranty Plan Act, that was enacted by the province and has made the warranty mandatory for all new homes in Ontario. So that's the answer to that question. And it's been mandatory, I believe, for about 42 some odd years. That's how old our statute is, with changes along the way, clearly. Regarding the paying for the inspection, we have, because of the COVID situation and the delay in timelines and the emergency orders, we have actually waived all conciliation fees for the remainder of the year. So there will not be any conciliation fees charged to any homeowner who requests a conciliation until at least the end of this year. Regarding the normal time, the actual conciliation fees acts more like a deposit when we do take it, and it is refunded when there's a warranted item found by a Tarion representative doing a conciliation, or if it's canceled prior to the conciliation, meaning that the builder has actually addressed the issues and resolved the form. So it is more of a deposit. And like I said, it's refunded when in the vast majority, I believe it's about at least 90% of the time it's actually refunded.
Thank you. The next question I will ask Peter to address. In 2019, Tarion paid salaries of about 30 million, but only paid out claims to consumers of 13 million, according to your annual report. Your investments have now ballooned to 644 million, up 60 million in 1 year. And you paid your CEO, Mr. Bogash, almost 800,000. How can you justify only paying out 13 million in claims?
So there are a lot of elements in that question. Let me first clarify that the claim payouts in 2019, I think were closer to $19 million. But I think one of the elements of that question that is worth clarifying to viewers is, in a way, the difference between an insurance program and a surety program. So the warranty that we are standing behind is the builder's warranty. And our organization operates like a surety. And what that means is we step in to help if the builder doesn't fulfill their promise. And the way that a surety company works is that its primary focus is on trying to make sure that the builder will fulfill its promises. And if it does that, then the home buyer is happy, and then the claim doesn't happen. So when you look at the structure of the Tarion organization, in addition to the fact that we have other elements within our mandate that aren't strict insurance, for example, the regulatory piece, the licensing piece, the compliance piece, the way that we target our resources, or the way that we focus our energy, is on working with the builders through contacting them, through putting out information on the warranties, the construction performance guideline, providing dispute resolution mediations, and trying to encourage builders to address the problems before they become a claim. So unlike in an insurance company, I think making a direct comparison between the amounts paid and the organizational cost isn't the right way to look at it. I think the place that we spend our money is to provide services to home buyers and builders, and to try to promote that resolution before it comes a claim. And if you look at the data, we've been largely successful at that. I think if you look at the data for 2019, 90% of the warranty claims that we receive, where people list out their defects, ultimately, as they work their way through our process, they're able to be resolved without Tarion having to do an in-person intervention, of which we did about 1,800 in 2019.
Thank you, Peter. My next question is for Sophie. How does Tarion make sure that Tarion conciliation inspection representatives maintain integrity and do not side with builders who they have been working and knowing each other for a long time?
Well, our staff is trained to look at every item in a balanced approach. They know that we are a consumer protection organization, so they are there to assess the item in a nonpartisan way and look at it strictly from the aspect of the legislation and the construction performance guidelines. They have a conflict of interest policy that has to be signed every year to ensure that they are acting in a non-biased way. And if there is any concern, we do have an ombudsperson's office that homeowners can address their claims to. And they are to look at the fairness of the assessment and the process. In addition, any concerns can be escalated to the manager or the director in the warranty services department.
Thank you. Just pausing to get some more questions. I have another question for you, Sophie. Tarion is charging $250 approximately for visiting a home to resolve unresolved or uncompleted pending items by the builder. This is a very high charge and not fair to the homeowners. This goes in favor of builders, as only few residents will complain to Tarion for unresolved issues due to the high visit fee?
So as I stated earlier, because of the pandemic and the emergency situation, we have waived all conciliation fees until the end of the year. So the $250 fee is being waived, and it's been waived since March. We haven't accepted it, and we are not collecting it. And typically, when it is collected, it is a deposit. So if an item is found to be warranted at a conciliation, or if the builder resolves the issue before conciliation takes place, the $250 is refunded back to the homeowner, which is in the vast majority of cases. Tarion is an organization with limited resources. I think, every organization has limited resources. And this is a way of ensuring that when a homeowner makes a request for conciliation, it is truly because the issues would be warranted. And we do allocate our resources, and it ensures that we are addressing the more serious issues. But like I've stated, the actual fee has been waived until the end of the year.
Yeah, and I think I would just add, when you look at comparable organizations that deal with consumer claims, the typical approach is to use deductible to to be a threshold payment before a claim is reviewed. And the problem with the deductible, of course, is that it's paid even if the claim is valid. So the approach that Tarion has adopted with the refundable fee is really to ensure that where there is a real issue, that the fee is returned. I think though, that is something, whether the fee is the right amount, is it too high? Is it deterring claims which should be brought forward? I think those are reasonable questions to ask, and those are things that we can look at and we'll be looking at as we go forward.
Thank you, Sophie and Peter. I have another question that I'll ask Peter to address. What additional resources has Tarion retained to assist in implementing the AG's recommendations? For example, part-time staff, consultants?
So this question, it seems to be focused on resources that Tarion has added with respect to implementing the recommendations themselves, as opposed to areas where we are adding resources to address the recommendations themselves. So those are two different things. I think one of the themes of the Auditor General's report is that there were areas where the auditor felt that perhaps we were under-resourcing certain consumer services, and we have moved to address that. So for example, we've increased the resources that we've applied to the customer service center and the call intake function. We've increased our compliance, and we've increased and changed and improved the computer system that underpins that. In terms of spending resources or adding resources to accomplish the AG report itself, we have added some project management assistance. So we've added some project managers to help us with the planning and ensuring that we hit our targets and hit our implementation targets as we are promising to do. So we have added resources in the project management side. And then, although I wouldn't say it's an added resources, we've shifted resources. So we've had to look internally, and we've shifted some people off some projects and put them onto the AG report project, because as I said at the outset, addressing the Auditor General recommendations this year and into next is a key priority of this organization. As I've said, we've already delivered on 11 of the 25 recommendations that were directed to Tarion, and that was achieved with a lot of effort, a lot of teamwork internal into the organization, with the assistance of, as I said, the additional project managers, but also the reallocation or refocusing of some internal work toward the AG report, where in past years we didn't have that, so those resources would have gone elsewhere. So I think that's the best answer I can give. We don't have a number. It would be part of our general overall administration costs.
I think, Peter, I can add to that from the board's perspective as to what how the directors have approached the AG's report and providing the resources. And I would like our participants to be fully assured that the board has taken that very seriously, and we believe that the report's implementation must have execution bias. And therefore, we have said whatever resources management needs will be made available to make it happen. And part of the things that you see in our achievement so far involves things that are not visible today, but they will be visible in the customer service area, for example, where we are actually deploying a completely new system. So when you talk about having consultants and other external resources, the board has authorized the engagement of a software company to provide a brand new customer relationship management system that is going to be state of the art. And for that, we have an advisory firm, a consulting firm that is working with us. And that's a nice, seven-figure commitment that we have made to make sure that when what came out in the Auditor General's report about the turnaround time and the ability for our homeowners to access information about themselves that is available 24/7 is of state-of-the-art mechanisms out there. They're the state-of-the-art portals. So what I want to assure people is that the board is fully committed to make it happen, and we will stand 100% behind it. And I'm very proud and pleased to say that management and the employees are actually moving in that direction, and we are monitoring the performance. As Peter mentioned earlier, we have key performance indicators, and one of the major key performing indicators included now is the implementation of that Auditor General's report. So the board is on top of it, our governance committee is on top of it, our human resource committee is on top of it. So I just want to give assurance that we are fully vigilant, we're providing full oversight, and wherever required, we have given authority to escalate issues so that they can be implemented and decisions can be made in a very business-like manner. So I think I would like to just leave that perspective in everyone's mind.
Thank you, Peter and Harry. I have a question now that I'll ask Tim to comment on. Why can a builder force a homeowner to enter into a contract for a tankless water heater, which they are charging very heavily for, whereas as a homeowner, I could have bought myself from the outside market at a much cheaper price? At the time of buying my new home, the builder won't book the home until and unless you sign the rental tankless water heater contract along with the home papers, which means you don't have any choice.
Okay. I guess the first thing I would say is that nobody can force anybody to sign something they don't want to sign. But I guess what I'm hearing is that what they're being told is that if you want this unit, this is part of the deal. And that sort of thing happens in all sorts of aspects of a transaction. Whether or not the tankless water heater part of the deal is improvident, I really couldn't say. But for the most part, in Ontario, we have what's known as freedom of contract, and the parties are entitled to negotiate and make the deal that they wish as between them. And if that is a deal breaker, then purchaser ought to walk away.
Thank you, Tim. I have a question I will ask Sophie to answer. What is the deadline for builders to address the 30-day warranty items already submitted? And when we submit our one-year items in November, what will the builder's deadline be to have the items fixed?
So in a typical case, when there's not a global pandemic happening and timeline suspended, it's 120 days from when a form is submitted that a builder has to complete the warranty items on the form. So when you submit your form in November, if there is no emergency order in place, then it would be 120 days from that date that you submit your form that the builder would have to repair the items, and then you can request a conciliation from Tarion. If you submitted your form during the emergency timeframe, which I suspect from your that there may be some overlap with the builder repair period, it would start up again on August 27th. And I believe that that may be the case here, but again, you can contact us for a complete review of your file for the timelines if the emergency order is impacted by it, but typically it's 120 days.
Yeah, I think it would be appropriate to mention that the timelines that we're operating under were part of the AG, the Auditor General's review. And there is a recommendation in the Auditor General's report directing Tarion to review those timelines and consider alternatives for them. We began reviewing that and doing public consultation on those timelines in January. I know in January and February, I met with almost 250 home buyers in 8 or 9 roundtables where we were talking about the impact of timelines. And I heard a lot of stories from homeowners in terms of their difficulties with the timeframes or the degree to which they found them to be complex. I also heard some input from home buyers about how, you know, having certainty and having milestones were effective for them. That consultation, unfortunately, we had to cut short. We weren't able to get all the way through it because of COVID. So we stopped that consultation and weren't able to move it forward in March. But we did launch recently another public consultation. It includes some questions around the timelines, and that is an issue that we anticipate addressing, making further, kind of addressing it further in the fall and also through to next year as we reassess how we can make those timelines consistent with the consumer protection mandate that we've been talking about for a large part of this public meeting.
Thank you, Sophie and Peter. Another question here for Peter. What's the timeline for the HCRA and how does it impact homeowners that have already taken possession?
Yeah, there's 2 elements to that question. The first part, I think we have to wait and see and hear from the ministry in terms of setting the expectation for when the Home Construction Regulatory Authority may be designated. My understanding is that Bill 159, which sets the foundation for that review, was in 3rd reading this week. So there is ongoing momentum, but an official statement as to the date of when the HCRA would be launched, I don't have that, but I think that's something that we should be hearing about in the near future. In terms of how that will affect, so can you read the last part of that question again?
Yes. How does it impact homeowners that have already taken possession?
So I think it will impact homeowners who've already taken possession in a positive way. Some elements won't, because the Home Construction Regulatory Authority will be taking on the role of licensing builders, for example. So if you already have possession, your builder would already have been licensed. So the HCRA won't have an impact on that. On the other hand, the HCRA will be taking over disclosure on the website, the Builder Directory website, and the HCRA will also be looking at codes of conduct and ethical complaints that would be brought against a builder. And those are issues which could very well be for the benefit of homeowners who have already taken possession. So I think it's a bit, I can't address it specifically, but in general, I think I can certainly see aspects of the legislation which could help homeowners who have already taken possession, although there will be other elements of it which won't be, they won't be backward looking.
I think, Peter, I would just add to that in terms of warranty administration and dealing with the warranties on the home that they have taken possession of, they'll be in no way prejudiced because Tarion will continue to be warranty administrator for those warranties. Their builder will still be expected to service those warranties, and if the builder doesn't, Tarion will step in in all the ways that we've been talking about, and perhaps with improved processes as we've been working on over the last little while as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. I wasn't looking at the question that way, but certainly if the person was asking the question from the perspective of will the creation of the HCRA impact their warranty rights, I think as Tim's rightly pointing out, Tarion will continue to exist as a surety, and all of our processes will be there to support the home buyer as they are today.
Thank you. Sophie, I have a question here about doing a PDI after the house closes because of COVID. We are having a new house closing next week. Our builder told us that they don't do in-person before closing PDIs anymore due to COVID. They will make us take possession of the house first, then do the PDI. Does this mean that the PDI has been dissolved into the 30-day warranty? How do I make sure I'm not liable for the problems found during their post-delivery PDI?
That's actually a really good question. So because of COVID and the social distancing measures that were put in place, we provided guidance, which is on our website, on how to conduct a PDI when it's not in person. And I would encourage you, after you take possession, to document the state of your home. Take photographs, take video, write down a deficiency list and send it to your builder in writing, by email or otherwise. Just make sure that you document the state of the home shortly after possession, maybe even before you move in, with your physical belongings, so that all of that can be documented. And then when you if it's not resolved, please put it on your 30-day form, and then you will have all the documentation to show that that was the state of the home when you moved in.
Thank you. I have a question here for Peter. Can you please explain why Tarion is not making warranty decisions in Cardinal Creek, but are rather offering customer care gestures, which goes against the mandate from the government?
Okay, well, I'm not going to speak specifically about the homeowner files, but I will say that I don't think it's an either or. So I think that Tarion is making warranty decisions and making customer service gestures. So there are situations where Tarion will make payments outside of the warranty process. A good example of that, and one which I think may have occurred in the community from which the question's being asked, is in a situation where there is a repair that is so significant of a warranted item that the homeowner has to leave the house and has to relocate during the time that the repair is occurring. Under the current legislation, there's no warranty for that, so there is no way for Tarion to reimburse the home buyer in that situation. But about a year or so ago, and Sophie can correct me if that's materially wrong in terms of the timing, but about a year or so ago, we undertook to pilot a project for reimbursing those kinds of relocation costs. And we're doing it as a customer service gesture because it's outside of the warranty. That's actually a policy that we have published on our website, and it's $150 a day for relocation costs. It's something that is also part of our public consultation that I talked about earlier in my remarks, that we were launching a public consultation. One of the things that we were looking at is to take some of the experience that we have had in helping home buyers through the customer service payments, where we're helping them with their relocation fees, and getting a consultation around whether or not that should be made permanent, whether it should become part of the warranty proper. So that's kind of an example. And I would say, coming back to the original question, that it isn't an either or. When we do these customer service gestures in particular cases, it's not instead of doing a warranty assessment. We do both.
Thank you, Peter. My next question I will turn over to Tim, and Harry may have some comments as well on this one. Tim, why do builders need to be part of the board at all? Make sure to unmute. Oh, you did.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. The general theory of governance for Tarion's board is that there be persons who have knowledge and experience and can represent the interests of the various stakeholders who are involved in Tarion's mandate. And builders are part of our stakeholders in that space. And there is value in having the experience and knowledge of builders on the board who can then provide that kind of insight when issues come up from time to time at the board level. Again, recognizing, of course, that in those discussions, they are not representing builders per se. They are, in fact, directors who have a duty to represent the interests of Tarion having regard to its consumer protection mandate. So having builders on the board per se is not a bad thing. I would argue that there's value in having builders on the board, and the fact that they are now in a position where those who are associated with the building industry do not are a minority on the board, the perception that they might have undue influence, we hope has been dispelled.
Yeah, I think I can add from the governance and the board perspective, Tim and Gina. In the composition of a board, and this is not unique to Tarion only, for any administrative authority, there's a regulated sector, and the presence of that regulated sector, what it does, it brings value to the board by way of knowing that industry. And as the questions today quite clearly highlight, that if we have to handle the builders who may not be following the discipline and the standards that they're supposed to be abiding by, then who best to get advice from to make sure we provide the right kind of penalties or the right kind of monitoring, the right way of providing oversight to the requests for repairs and complaints. That can only come from the industry. So that's one aspect. The second aspect is that they provide a lot of market intelligence. So when things are not going right, as the case was right now during the COVID situation, where the building activity completely declined and there were no enrollments, there was no new files that we were opening up. In that scenario, Tarion has to start managing its affairs with an expectation of a decline in the home enrollment situation. So those are the kind of circumstances where these skills become extremely important. The other aspect you should know is, as you know, Tim quite correctly pointed out, that anytime anyone who joins the board, they sign, doesn't matter which industry they come from, they sign a conflict of interest policy that Tarion has, and a code of conduct as to how they're going to conduct themselves. And if they have any conflict of interest, then they should sign and they should recuse if there's ever a situation of conflict. So some of these disciplines that are in place, and there's no doubt that given now that they don't represent a majority, the influence that used to be, again, it's a thing of the past, that influence is no longer there. But I can assure you, these are very seasoned business people. They are performing their fiduciary duties. They have the duty of care for the organization and its stakeholders. They're supposed to have a duty of loyalty. And the last one I would say is the duty of disclosure. So we know exactly where, if they are connected with another builder, then they have a duty to disclose to us, and there's a conflict, and they will recuse themselves in those situations. So I think it's important to know that the industry presence is extremely important, and that is very prevalent in the investment industry, or whether if you go to another administrative authority like Hydro One, or the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation, or any others. There are 14 other administrative authorities where you will always find the industry presence. So it's a very common element in all the boards pretty much that are out there.
Thank you, Tim and Harry. I have a question next for Sophie. The builder was scheduled to visit to inspect an issue with my floor. Now, the question doesn't say it, but I presume that the builder didn't show up. Do I need to submit another complaint with Tarion?
If you've already filed your form, then we already have your form, so you don't need to file it again. I would suggest contacting your builder, and if the builder is not being responsive, to contact us, and we will reach out to the builder on your behalf.
Thank you. Next question, I'll ask Kevin to comment. What is being done to deter builders from cutting corners in the first place? Simply addressing this issue is not sufficient, as the contractors are professionals at passing warranty with as little effort as possible.
So there's a couple aspects there. One is Tarion does hold builders accountable. And at the end of the day, if we do find that an item is warranted, then the builder is expected to fix it. If they don't fix it, then we will compensate or fix the item for the homeowner. So that's the first part of it. But then what happens is, if we then start seeing builders that are displaying a systemic pattern of not building a good quality home, that's when it flows into the licensing side of things. And so if we start seeing a pattern of poor workmanship, whether it's a specific item or just in general a poorly built home, there's going to be consequences on the licensing side. And those could range from increased securities. They could range from limiting the number of homes that a builder can build. It could result in targeted inspections. If a builder has a history of building specific items incorrectly, there could be a requirement that Tarion does additional inspections, or that a builder will have to give us some additional third-party reports showing that they've done it in a proper manner. And then the most severe cases of ensuring that a builder builds a good quality home is, in the end, we could issue a proposal to revoke their license.
Thank you, Kevin. I have a question here that I'll ask Sophie to comment on. Given the delay with COVID with many of the services to the homeowners, shouldn't the 30-day claim submission deadlines be extended for homeowners?
Any 30-day form, or any claim form, actually, didn't matter what under which warranty it is, that was due between March 16th or after March 16th has been extended to September 11th. In light of the emergency order. So if a homeowner needs time beyond September 11th, we do have the ability to look at the situation and adjust timelines for extraordinary situations. So we can certainly take a look at your particular case if there is a timeline after September 11th that, additional time that's requested or required.
Thank you. I have another question for Sophie. I have noticed that the sump at the back of my house keeps pumping underground water very frequently, but the water stays on my lawn, creating puddles and damaging grass. Whose responsibility is this to repair, please?
Well, it depends. It could be a grading issue, in which case it could be that it might be under the purview of the municipality, but we won't know that till we take a look. So I would encourage you to put that on a claim form, or to contact your builder firstly and have your builder take a look at it. Or in addition, put it on a claim form. You can also contact us, ask to speak to our technical desk, who can then walk you through it a little bit further and get some more information, and we could maybe come out and conduct an investigative inspection just to take a look at it.
Thank you. I do have another question that I'll ask you to address again, Sophie. I believe what this question is asking is, what is the emergency claim process during the time of the pandemic period?
So if you have an emergency, the first thing you should do is contact your builder with that issue. Your builder is given a certain period of time to come and address it, just the emergency situation. If they don't address it, then you can go ahead and address it yourselves. Keep all your receipts, keep all your documentation. I would also, if you need some advice on how to proceed with it, then I would encourage you to contact Tarion. We can have our technical desk review it and conduct a virtual inspection to assess the emergency situation.
Thank you. I have a question that I'll ask Tim to address. How do you make a builder fulfill items in their purchase and sales agreement?
Okay. Again, it kind of depends which provisions you're talking about. To the extent the provisions that you're talking about relate to warranted items, then you would use the warranty process that's available through the Ontario New Home Warranty Program. Contact Tarion, and if the builder is not performing, Tarion will backstop that. To the extent it is non-compliance with other provisions of the agreement of purchase and sale that is not covered by the program, that is a matter which is covered by the general common law and would be addressed probably through small claims court or superior court through a normal action, or possibly, if the parties can agree upon it, mediation or arbitration.
Yeah, Tim, I would also, I guess, listening to your answer, two thoughts. One is, and maybe this might be for Sophie to help out on, but the typical elements in an agreement of purchase and sale that connect with the warranty are substitutions. So it's where the agreement of purchase and sale may have a selected item. So you enter into your agreement of purchase and sale and you specify that you want an oak floor, but you don't get an oak floor. So that is a warranty piece. And if that's what we're dealing with, and Sophie, maybe you can say a few words about the substitution warranty in a moment. The other element I would say is, generally speaking, I think, and this is on Kevin's piece, is we expect registered builders to live up to their contractual commitments. So if there is an occasion where they didn't live up to their agreement, I think, Tim, you're totally right in terms of the remedy. It may be that it's small claims court or a mediator or an arbitration to get a remedy. But in terms of implications on the builder, there may be an implication to their license, because if you're entering into agreements and making promises to your homeowners and you're not following them, I think that is an appropriate thing to look into from an honesty and integrity perspective. Of course, I'm talking about the current statute. And again, I think it's fair to have a bit of a looking ahead lens here as we have this annual meeting, because with Bill 159 and the potential creation of the Home Construction Regulatory Authority, we're also talking about developing a builder code of conduct and potentially a more robust disciplinary process. So I could see issues or allegations about non-compliance with an agreement in the future being picked up there as well. But certainly there is an honesty and integrity component that could happen within our framework. So Sophie, would you be able to just touch on the substitution warranty and how that would apply?
Sure. So the substitution warranty has two elements to it. There's two types of substitution warranties, and they are all to be reported within the first year. So one is what we call referred to in the agreement of purchase and sale. There's usually an appendix. It's usually Appendix C that lists all the items that come with the home. So it'll list oak floors, like Peter said. It may list granite countertops or a certain type of faucet or what have you. So it'll list certain items. So if a builder substitutes an item that is referred to for something else, it has to be of equal or better quality. So that's the first type. The second type is the selection. So the selection can come from something listed in Appendix C, for example, a color. So you're getting oak floors, but you don't know the stain on the floor. That's a selected item. That type of substitution cannot be substituted without the homeowner's consent. So there are two different substitution warranties that are available under our statute. Both flow from the agreement of purchase and sale.
All right, I'm noticing that we are rapidly coming to the end of our program, so I will squeeze in one last question. I'll ask Peter this question. What has been done to address the recommendation, noting the fact that rigid timeframes to submit claims and forms are not useful, helpful, or effective in helping homebuyers, particularly first-time homebuyers?
Yeah, so this was a big observation in the Auditor General's report. She found that in the period that she looked at, which was 4 years, that there were about 9,700 home buyers who filed forms with Tarion, but their claim was denied because they missed the cutoff period. Now, I do think it's important to recognize, and the auditor herself recognized this as well, that the vast majority of home buyers are able to work through the timeframes, and part of that, I think, reflects the investment that we've made in digital portals. We have, I think, 98% of home buyers are registered on the My Home portal, and the My Home portal allows us to give push notifications and let people know when their deadlines are coming up and give them reminders. So it can take something that on paper looks very complicated, it can make it more user-friendly. And in the period that we looked at, there were about 320,000 forms that were filed where we found the 9,000 that weren't. So something in the range of 97% of the forms that were filed in those 4 years were filed on time. And really what that does is it frames the challenge, because the challenge is not about necessarily throwing everything out. It's really about figuring out why the system isn't working for that 3%, and what are the changes that we can make to make that 3% 1% or make that 3% 0. And as I said in response to a question right from the beginning, we're still in consultation on that. We jumped into that right away. I was involved in 8 homeowner roundtables, met upwards of 240 people, talked about it. We looked at a lot of feedback, and we had some interim measures which we were moving forward with to add grace periods, expand the definition of an emergency claim to make it easier to submit your claim. And we were also looking at longer term approaches. And as I said earlier, getting rid of the timelines or adjusting them even in a more flexible way isn't off the table. It may be something we have to look at and consider. So I would say to the person who asked this question that we're taking that comment as a priority in the AG recommendation. It's certainly a priority for our board, and I think it's a priority for the minister in terms of ensuring that home buyers can access our services and consumer protection in a simple and reliable way. And I am confident that that within the timeframes that we've committed to in our implementation plan, I am confident that we will find ways leveraging digital technology and other solutions to improve and simplify the way that homeowners can access our claims processes and improve the timelines. So bear with us as we move forward. As I mentioned, some of the consultation was delayed due to COVID, but bear with us. I think we're going to make inroads on this. And I think it's something that we'll be able to show a positive outcome.
Thank you, Peter. That brings our 2020 annual public meeting to an end. I would like to thank all of you for participating this evening. There were some excellent questions, and I hope we were able to answer them to your satisfaction. Please note that if we didn't get to your question and it's a general one, look to our website for an answer in the coming days. If it was a specific question about your home that we couldn't address for privacy reasons, we have directed staff to follow up with you. A reminder that this evening's event was recorded and will be posted to Tarion's YouTube channel within the next 7 days. Thank you once again for joining us for Tarion's 2020 annual public meeting. Good night.